Am I the asshole for asking for the coffee I ordered? I'm a regular at a local coffee shop. I stop in nearly every day on my lunch break, so I've gotten to know the owners and most of the staff. They're all great and I usually leave a 50% tip. Yesterday I went and there was a girl I didn't recognize behind the counter. I assume she's new. I placed my usual order, medium light roast coffee, black with room. She turns around to pour the coffee and I notice her fill the cup up halfway with the light roast and fills the rest up with the dark roast. She puts the cup in front of me and I ask her why she filled the cup up with dark roast when I ordered light roast. She said they ran out of light roast so she used the dark roast to top it off. I told her I don't drink dark roast and she responded that it doesn't make a difference because it's all the same and she didn't feel like putting on a new pot because it would take 6 minutes. I told her it's not all the same, which is why it's labeled differently, and I would have waited for the fresh pot or ordered something else. She gave me a what the fuck look, said it's industry standard to do that and walked to the back and didn't come back out again. She sent out another worker I'm friendly with who apologized and got me the correct coffee. I went in today and the owner was there and half-jokingly half-seriously asked why I was causing problems with his employee. I don't feel comfortable going there anymore and I'm wondering if it really is a standard practice and I was just being in awe? Ask the owner, not Reddit, if it's their practice to do that. Not the asshole, she admitted she didn't prepare your drink as ordered and then was in awe. You were right not to pay, especially when her customer service skills are so poor she tells you she can't be bothered to do the drink you want. Maybe next time respond with a half-joking to the manager to ask whether the new staff is trained on how to prepare a drink yet. Not the asshole. Her behavior and the owner's is bizarre. 1. The whole point of differently roasted products is that they are different. If they are not, they are deceiving the customer and it's kind of rude to tell you that. 2. She tried to make you accept something cause she didn't want to do her job and make a new pot. 3. She left and sent someone else to deal with you. It's nice that someone else was available, but what the fuck, she can't just leave her job like that. 4. The owner's comment was aggressive and unwelcoming. Even if he said it in order to make you talk about it, his way of broaching the subject is bad. Industry standard to give a customer something they didn't ask for in their order that they are paying for? I'd put that shop and owner on blast. Sorry, no more milk, but here's some water instead. Sorry, no more sugar, here's some sweet and low. Sorry, no more coffee, but here's a cup of hot water. You have the upper hand here. A confident, is it giving them a hard time to ask to be given what I ordered? Would have been a great reply. Not the asshole. I hope you don't stop going there. Not the asshole. You ordered the coffee you wanted, and she delivered something different. You asked for the correct item and she refused. That is poor customer service before she just walked off, then it's just rude. Industry standard is, when something can't be delivered, ask the customer what they want. Just topping it off with different beans is not standard in any shop that care about coffee. Just say to the owners you don't mean to cause a fuss, but she made you the wrong coffee and you wanted it correcting. You can, half-jokingly, say you are quite particular about your coffee, which is why you have been going there so much. Little flattery never hurts. Not the asshole. I feel like the owner is just comfortable enough to joke with you. She was definitely in the wrong. I worked for big coffee company for 5 years and light roast and dark roast are extremely different. Mixing the two would just be giving you a medium roast pretty much. If you're paying for it, you should get what you order. Not the asshole. Messing up with customers' orders is not an industry standard. Am I the asshole for losing it after my boyfriend sat me down for a pet intervention? I, F25, have 2 dogs. Abby, 15, and Sam, 4. Both were rescues. My boyfriend, Jim, moved in with me 3 months ago and I'm losing my mind. Jim had pets growing up and is a self-proclaimed expert. Inherently I have no issues with this, but since moving in, he micromanages everything I do with my dogs. Some examples. I feed my dogs 2 meals a day. The first meal is usually in the morning before I start work around 9 a.m. When I'm in the kitchen, the dogs will sit near me and wait until I set the food down. Jim thinks it's selfish of me to make myself a coffee before feeding the dogs, since food coffee. If I feed them a little later, e.g. 9:30 a.m., then he makes small snide comments. He thinks it's easier to feed the dogs first than make myself a coffee and says it's an easy, small change. Currently, I walk my dogs during my lunch break at 12:30, but Jim thinks I should also take the dogs for a walk first thing in the morning, because they have pent-up energy in the morning and would be more relaxed. He cites Sam's morning zoomies as boredom and lacking mental stimulation. I buy Sam toys twice a year. Abby doesn't like them, on her birthday, and Christmas. I usually buy them within 6 weeks and shop whatever deal is available, but Jim thinks I should buy them more toys. Since moving in, he's bought around 10 new toys, and every time I tell him it's too much, he tells me it's the bare minimum to get toys for your dogs. And #X200B. I don't take his suggestions and I think it frustrates him. Yesterday, I came home and he tells me we have to talk. I sit down, and kid you not, he begins holding an intervention on my treatment of my pets. Honestly, I lose him. I began shouting and asked him to get out. He told me he was only looking out for me and my dogs, but reluctantly left after refusing for 15 minutes. Animal cruelty is a serious issue, but the micro-passive aggressiveness and subtle digs are frustrated, especially when my dogs are well loved and looked after. My friends told me I could have tried out his suggestions and yelling wasn't the right thing to do, so am I the asshole? And #X200B. Edit. I was unclear on the pet's exercise schedule, so here is a comment I replied to. We have a backyard which they have a doggy door and 24/7 access to. I don't make them hold their bladder until then. Apart from sporadic zoomies, the dogs are sleeping on the couch or in the backyard until their first walk. They get 2 other walks, one around 5 and one before bed. The morning walk, 12.30, is about 40–60 minutes for Abby and 1.5 hours for Sam. The evening walk we go on a trial at a park near our house, roughly the same amount of time. The night walk is just a 20–30 minute walk around the block, mainly to go bathroom and get last-minute energy out. And #X200B. Edit 2. 1. Sam gets more than 2 toys a year. I just will typically buy them twice a year in shop sales such as buy one get 50% off and gift them on birthdays, Christmas because it's fun. We average about 6 new toys a year, but she is a gentle giant and I've only had to throw 1 toy away because she threw up on it and the smell wouldn't go away. I'm not angry that he's buying them toys, though I think the quantity is too much, but because it always becomes a subtle dig to me and he makes it out like they're deprived and he's doing the bare minimum. 2. Jim is currently at a friend's house. I didn't make him homeless. Not the asshole. Rehome the BF. Not the asshole. What I find funny is if Jim is significant other concerned about the dogs getting walked and fed at a certain time, why doesn't he do it himself instead of saying passive-aggressive comments? Not the asshole. All pets just don't work out together sometimes. Jim doesn't fit in with the pack. Bring him back to the shelter and give them a donation. They would rather you do that than have an unhappy home. Ha. Is your boyfriend aware that there are actual human children who don't get toys more than twice a year, and don't get their breakfast served to them until after their parent has had a coffee? I was one of them once. I suffer exactly no psychological trauma from it, and until now it never occurred to me to even question it. We were poor, man. My parents literally could not afford random gifts. And of course they had a cup of coffee first up. It was their ritual. I don't like invoking the "it was good enough for me and I turned out all right" thing, but, seriously. These dogs sound happy and well cared for, and I can tell you from personal experience that this is not a lifestyle that leaves you feeling neglected, or hungry, or hard done by. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Felt ready to punch something after reading this. My God, he's insufferable. Not the asshole. He seems obnoxious as hell. Imagine if you had kids? He would criticize you at every turn. Maybe he's not the one. Not the asshole. But your boyfriend is. Some serious flags regarding the micromanaging issues. Has he done this in the rest of your life or is it just starting with your dogs? You were right to put him in his place. Frankly, out would be a better place, but that's between you and him. Not the asshole. And I say this as I'm currently making coffee before feeding my children. Am I the asshole for refusing to pay child support until my rights are established? Throwaway account. I, 29 male. Used to date my ex-girlfriend, Jane, 30 female. Until I caught her with my ex-friend, roommate, Ted, 32 male. We broke up and I moved back to my home state and never spoke to either of them again. Most of our mutual friends ended up overlooking the matter since Jane and Ted were in love and planned on getting married, so I cut them all off and just moved on with my life. Fast forward to now and I'm in a much better place with a high-paying salary and just proposed to my girlfriend, Ashley, 26 female. Life was going great for me. I'm not a big social media user, but I did make a post about my engagement and one of the few friends I kept from my past saw and I guess passed the information along to Jane and Ted. Jane attempted to reach out to me but I blocked her without reading the message because I wanted nothing to do with her. I also told Ashley and she preemptively blocked her too. Well, Jane kept reaching out with fake profiles but I ended up deleting my account, but not before I told her that I wanted nothing to do with her and to leave me alone. In my mind there was no reason for us to communicate for any reason and I just wanted to live my life. Then Jane reached out to my sister, Mandy, 32 female, and told her that I had a son. I thought Jane was full of it because it had been 6 months between me catching her cheating and me moving away before changing my number, and years between then and now. Plenty of time for Jane to realize that she was pregnant and contact me about it, or even come after me for child support. I thought she was making up some wild story to get me to talk to her, so I got a lawyer to send her an official letter to leave me alone. Then the lawyer came back to me with pictures of a 5-year-old boy who bore a resemblance to me. Turns out Jane was pregnant, but her and Ted thought the baby was his because they didn't always use condoms while I did and opted not to say anything. They got married and Ted is the legal father, but when they tried to have more kids it turned out that Ted is sterile. Jane and Ted decided to just raise the kid as their own without ever saying a thing because Ted felt like he was less of a man for not being able to reproduce. It wasn't until Jane came across my account and saw how nice my life was that she felt like her son deserved the financial benefits as well. Did a DNA test and I am the father. I agreed that child support was required and told Jane and Ted that I would have my lawyers send over details about payment and visitation. Ted was upset and refused to sign away his rights and doesn't want me around his son. I promptly told him that if I'm gonna pay child support then I'm entitled to all the legal rights that a father is entitled to and that they wouldn't get a dime from me until then. If they refuse then I'll just start a savings account for the kid until he's an adult. Jane and Ted are calling me selfish, but since it's coming from them I'm taking it with grain of salt, so am I the asshole? Edit. Just to be clear, because despite already writing this in the post people are still somehow missing it. Ted is the legal father and is on the birth certificate and is still married to Jane, so as far as the American courts are concerned I have no rights to the child, but that also means Jane and Ted can't force me to pay child support. Jane and Ted want me to have no contact with the kid whatsoever, but still, discreetly, send them money because Ted doesn't want anyone to know that he can't reproduce. So years later she wants you to bankroll her happy family but never see the kid? I wouldn't be okay with that either. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. If that is your son, you have every right to seek all your legal rights to visitation, even custody. Especially if they expect you to contribute financially. It is through no fault of yours that you are just now finding out you have a son. Not the asshole. Do everything through your lawyer. They can't have it both ways. Not the asshole. A savings account for the kid is nice of you to do. Don't let those greedies get a dime unless Ted is not legally listed as the father and you get formal visitation. They don't get to keep your kid from you and get money. Let Ted front the cash if he's not willing to give up his rights as the legal father. Not the asshole. They can't have the cake and eat it too, as they say. You are willing to pay CS and you have a right to get to know your child. I may be wrong, but Ted would be considered the father since they were married when child was born and my guess his name is on the birth certificate. I mean, if you weren't in the picture and Jane and Ted got divorced, wouldn't he be responsible for CS? Listen to your lawyers and do what they say. It's good that you will put the money in an ACCT for son if not paying the CS. Not the asshole. It's nice of you to consider a savings account for him as he will eventually reach out to you. Ted's name is on the birth certificate. Save the emails and correspondence from him saying the boy is his, so if they get divorced, Jane can't come after you for support. You're right though, they can't ask for child support while denying you parental rights. I friend those friends that talked about you to Jane. They're not your friends. NTA. I am sorry. That's a very tough situation you've got. But paying discreetly is not an option. This woman stole your son from you after cheating on you. I think your response is right in line with doing right by yourself and the kid. Not the asshole. Am I the asshole for telling my brother's fiancé the truth? I, 21 female, have an older brother, 29 male, who has been divorced twice and is about to get married to his fiancé of 2 years, 26 female, and she a party celebrating the fact that she got engaged a few days ago. I was invited but my brother wasn't since she wanted to have a little party with her friends and since she wanted to bond with me, her future sister-in-law, she also invited me. So I started chatting with her and her friends, and later in the night we started to get a little tipsy. Suddenly she started to talk about my brother, stating that she couldn't believe that he never got married before since he is such a handsome man. But it didn't make sense that she said that, since he was divorced twice, and one of his former wives had a child with him. She started to talk about him saying things that wasn't true, like the fact that he was a lawyer, he worked at a hotel as a janitor, and that he was making $150K a year when he was making minimum wage. At this point I was shocked because of how all the things she was talking about was untrue, so I asked who told her this, and she said it was my brother. I was confused as of why he said that, but I knew that before in his previous marriages that he had verbally abused his wife, so I knew either way I could not let this slide. I brought her to the bathroom upstairs and told her everything, I mean everything. She looked shocked, and after I finished telling her she went downstairs, got her stuff and said she felt sick and left. The next day comes around and my phone was blown up with messages, missed calls and DMs from my family and brother about what happened. It turns out that after she left she went to her house, where my brother was at the time, confronted him and broke up with my brother, then kicked him out. My family and brother is calling me a insensitive bitch and a home wrecker. I don't feel bad about telling her the truth, but I do feel bad about ruining his engagement. Am I the asshole? Not the asshole, you saved that girl's life. Wait. So your brother, a janitor who makes minimum wage, nothing wrong with that, lied to his fiancée about his previous 2 marriages, a child, and overinflated his wealth by a factor of 10? And they're bitchin' at you for letting her know? You're not the asshole. Not the asshole. Your brother sure is, though. You saved her from an abusive, lying man, and a divorce. How can you wreck a home when the lie your brother told is what's wrecking his foundations? Not the asshole. You saved this woman from his lies. It's good you told her truth, and rather than let her think that she has struck gold with your brother only to find she found some fool's gold instead. The truth always sets you free. Not the asshole. Your brother sure is, though. You saved her from an abusive, lying man, and a divorce. Not the asshole. And did he really think he could hide a whole child? Also, when you go to get the marriage license they ask for proof of divorce, so hiding that was going to be tricky. And then what happens when she budgets based on his fake wages? Your brother is catch me if you can fake, except he is an utter failure at it. You probably saved this woman from a lot of abuse if their relationship was already full of lies. You would do even better if you go low or no contact with your family, as they see no problem with your brother's behavior. Not the asshole. OFC.